Okay, welcome guys. We are going to basically give you some strategies today and talk about contour lines. And this is for the purpose of really improving your proportions. So when you're drawing with the macro, medium, and micro method, this is really a great way to see the big shapes, see the relationships between, one part to another, which is basically the definition of proportions. I have a class here that you won't see, but you might hear. So I'm going to start like this. Guys, here is the most important things for this composition. It's the arrangement of the elements of art and work in a work of art. Proportions. It refers to the size relationships of one part to another and various parts to the whole of an artwork. In other words, guys, how big or small a shape or a thing is compared to another shape or thing. And contour lines. How many in here know what contour lines are? You can just go, yep.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
good.
Yep.
Guys, you probably have a visual what contour lines are. In drawing, it refers to lines that show the edges of forms. So it's not just the outline of something. It shows the edges of form, so even inside an object, all right? Now, the first thing that I'm going to do is I want to show you how to either shrink or enlarge an image. Generally, students enlarge the image, okay? Now, guys, you have to make sure you have a nice clean rectangle, all right? So, since these are going in your sketchbooks, by the way, it's going to look like this when it goes in the sketchbook. You're going to have some kind of frame around it, and these edges are going to represent the sides of your photo, the edges of your photos, okay? Now, the way to start is to basically just kind of get the corner started, okay? Now, guys, you need to make sure you keep it in the same place, okay? Basically, you can just have a dot. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to lightly draw a line down, lightly draw a line over, okay? And just going from this corner to this corner, I'm going to extend a line out very lightly. Now, what this is going to do, guys, is that at this point, you've seen on computer when you drag the image and it's locked in, it just grows, right? You drag it from the corner and it just grows. Have you seen that, y'all?
Yes.
Okay. What that does is it basically, I think they call it constraining the proportions. It keeps the ratio of size the same for the height and the width, not the dimensions. The dimensions change. It's going to get bigger. So you can put a dot on any spot on this line and go up. Okay. And go over. I like to make sure that I'm parallel with the bottom edge of my paper. I'm glad, bless you. I'm glad I got 2 pencils because, thanks. Because I thought that would happen. All right, so guys, at this point, I'll clean up these edges. All right, nice and straight. You don't freehand it, just get it in there good. And guys, when you go to enlarge this, it's the same. It's not different. It's not squarish. It's not real long or wide or too wide or whatever. Now, the second thing you want to do is you want to divide your paper into 4 sections. So very lightly, and I stress, go lightly. I mean, this looks kind of dark, but I know it's easy to erase. Both corners create an X. You just need an X in the center. Does this look familiar? Does it? Because I have shared this with other art classes before, but from the center, and guys, this is now exactly the center. We didn't have to measure anything. You just want to make sure it's parallel to the sides. If you really want to make sure it's accurate, this way, then you can measure here and say, oh, that's 4 and, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5/8. And you can go to the top and say, oh, 5/8. Now, same dealio, all right? Very lightly, so you have it just like this, all right? You all think you can do this?
Yes. Sure.
Okay, this is precision. This is accuracy. So you can't freehand it. You really have to do it. I'm glad you guys are so optimistic you can do this. Now, guys, you're going to do the same thing on your image, okay? And it is key. Same deal. Actually, let me take a white piece of paper so you can see this a little better. Same deal. This time, if you really want to go darker, you can. But you just need to be able to see where this is going to go. Will you get a Sharpie out of the second drawer down? All right. So I have the center. And again, if you need to measure it from the center to the side, then go for it. And I'm using pencil right now, but I'm going to use Sharpie here. And what I noticed throughout the day yesterday, okay, is that a lot of students would just get started, and I know that feeling. You're like, where should I start? And you just start, and you don't really notice that it's out of proportion until you've really spent a lot of time on your drawing, all right? And at that point, you're just like, well, maybe if I add a lot of value, it'll look really good, no one will notice, you know? But proportions are those things that people notice right away, okay? So you now have your image, you now have your drawing, and you now can really look at each individual shape. This is a great way for it not to be so overwhelming, all right? What's the first shape that I really focus on? It's this right here, all right? So I could half this as well, but for the sake of time, I'm going to put this in, okay? So I get that big shape in. This shape goes back a little bit more. Let's see, there's this ellipse right here, guys, the steering wheel. It's not a circle. We're not looking straight down on it. So I'm gonna, oh, that's a little big. Maybe it's not a little big. It's a big steering wheel, all right. Okay, so I get that in there. Now I'm gonna look basically at this line right here. And already I'm like, wow, okay. I thought I had that right on, but it looks like I need to go a little higher with this, a little higher with this. And I just keep it sketchy, okay? Sometimes I'll tell you what, guys, the truth is sometimes artists need to go to the second step, the medium, just to kind of make sense of things. So I need that hand shape in, just so it makes sense to me. And I think I need to raise it a little bit. Turns out that goes there. And now I'm going up to this next box, and I'm just kind of getting the shoulders in at this point, okay? I'm going to put the head in, just like that. The hat. Dun, dun. All right. And see this angle right there? If I do that, I see a triangle. And this is the thing, guys, is that, oh, hey, now I see it. I didn't go high enough on that. Okay. This is making more sense to me now. Okay. I see this triangle kind of shape here. The arm comes down through here. I'm just kind of, I could go like that. I could make it into a shape. All right. Now, take note, there are things in the background that are really important too. So I get this line in there, kind of goes in the back, extends through, stops just about halfway, and I just keep working it, okay? I see this pole thing, and I'm like drawing it, and I'm like, wait a second. The pole, the hand is there, so the pole has to be to the right. I'm not putting it far enough over, okay? So I'm gonna move this pole a little bit. This is one of those times where I am gonna erase just a little bit because it's kind of confusing to me, all right? And it's not about getting it perfect. A lot of students, they kind of go, it doesn't look right, and they just erase it. Guys, you keep your sketch lines there so that it can start to make more sense. How am I doing so far, guys?
Good.
Yeah? Have I put any details in?
No. Fish.
Any details? So, did you say fish?
Maybe.
Okay. Yeah, fish. All right. Now, guys, there's this person in the background. Thank you. All right. Thank you. And I want to make sure I get those things in. So, I don't know, does it have a time on it?
No.
Okay. Then let's wait until this is done. So, I'm just loosely sketching this in. A lot of times, ladies and gentlemen, the human brain doesn't need all the details anyways, because all they need to know is that it's, a few shapes to know it's a human. Guys, I love stick people because people go, well, I can't draw. And I go, okay, draw a line, draw two more lines there, draw a circle. And then they have, draw a line, draw two lines. Everyone knows that that's a person, So this is super simple. This is a little more complex, but still the idea is really the same, okay? So, I'm sketching these in. I'm noticing, oh, hey, there's a little triangle there, so I'm going to get that triangle in. And then there's this shape that I don't know what to call it, but I know how it looks. So I'm really paying attention to that line because it breaks things up that otherwise would be really confusing. All right? Helps me with the hand here, makes me realize, oh, I made that a little big. And the time is spent on just getting things locked in really correct. So the smaller parts relate to each other in a solid way. Now, guys, there's more stuff going on in the background, but I'm not really going to worry about that too much. And at this point, come closer, guys. At this point, stand up, come closer, thanks. At this point, the big basic shapes are in, but here's the scoop. You're ready to go to your details. You're not going to use pencil, okay? You're going to take a felt tip marker, and you're going to decide where to start. Who has a suggestion? Where should I start?
The top on the side. Where you start at the beginning.
At the beginning, like where I started?
Yeah.
Okay. And guys, it's really up to you. I'm going to take your suggestion. But pretty much, there's no erasing at this point. So, looks like I can add that too. And I'm drawing the edges of forms at this point. So, I mean, in some ways, I am going to add more details, but I'm not erasing. My sketch marks, okay? And guys, this is going to force you to really think about the proportions and the shapes. And this is a way that you can't hide whether you're doing step 1 and step 2, okay? So I'm taking my time. You'd be amazed, too. I'm taking my time, getting in some wrinkles. You don't need a ton of information, all right? Look at that little triangle. Yeah. you guys should go, yeah, too. Yeah. All right. Thank you, crowd. You've been very, very polite, very quiet. All right. I got to say, I like this guy. In fact, if I can, I'll come back and try to get his expression. This guy reminds me of my grandpa, at least one of my grandpas. He really does. And that's one of those things about drawing is that you spend time with it and you think about all this cool stuff. My grandpa was like a cowboy. He was super strong. He grew up on a farm. His dad died when he was 15. He thought he would go to college and do something with math and science. Instead, he wound up making washers and dryers at Whirlpool. And he was just a strong, tough guy. And, you know, and so I'm just really enjoying doing this drawing at this point because I'm thinking of him. And he just left a really strong impression on me. I mean, he was like a cowboy. He was real no-nonsense. He's the guy who slapped my hand at lunch or dinner one time when I tried to take 2 pieces of chicken at one time, fried chicken, because it's really good. And he slapped my hand so hard I dropped it, and he just stared a hole through me, guys. He just stared at me, and then and I was like, what? What? I was so scared. And he just started grinning. Don't like my story? He just started grinning at me, and then he started laughing because he knew I was just scared, you know, like I thought I was gonna get a whipping. It was back in those days, and he goes, "You never take seconds until everybody's had their first," or something like that, and I never forgot that because he was just so big on manners, you know, this tough cowboy guy who still was like, you know. There are some things you do and some things you don't, all right? So you can see where I'm going with this, all right? I guarantee if you just put an honest, good effort into it, okay, then it's going to turn out really great, okay? So, ladies and gentlemen, let's get your sketchbooks. Let's get your things. Here, let's put somebody on the spot. So, can we have a volunteer on the spot? Okay. All right. So, proportions. How do you remember what proportions is?
Dun 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 dun.
Okay. Great. Is that proportions?
No,
Okay. What is that?
that's composition.
Composition. Okay. So, volunteer. Proportions. How do you remember what proportion is? Yeah, why? All right, thank you. Guys, find an association. Portions of food. Do you have a big portion or a small portion compared to either you or your plate? It's the size relationship of one thing to another. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's do this. And folks, will you just say goodbye for the video?
Bye.
All right.